when you talk about shining the light, the prison system seems like it's a cycle in DC. What is that like, and also the education system that a lot of the young kids who may come from a disenfranchised background, what is that like in DC?
Well, in DC it's a little different because DC is a district. It's not a it's not a state. So we one of our slogans that's on the license plate is taxation without representation. We don't have any representation in the House of Representatives, which every other state does, but we still get taxed like we're a state. And since we're not a state, everything is federal. Like, in the United States, you have state crime, and then you have federal crime. The feds, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, that if they come see you, is different than the police in your town coming to see you. But in the District of Columbia, everything is federal. So no matter what your crime is, you go to the federal penitentiary. There is no state penitentiary that you go to. It used to be one called Lorton, but they closed that down due to the conditions and the violence. So in DC, the crime rate is based on federal funding, really, when you think about it, because all of the people from my city go straight to the feds, and it's money being made when those people are it's commerce, man, really, when you think about the reality of it. So in the district, we have one of the highest rates of people who get out of prison and go right back because the opportunities are so slim in the city. And when you get out, that you can't get a job, you can't, vote, you can't do any of those things. So we send the most people right back to prison that just got out of prison. One of the most unfortunate parts about where I'm from is that our educational system is so bad. Like, we have one of the worst, and have historically had one of the worst educational systems in the country, due to the fact that it was predominantly African-American city. DC used to be called Chocolate City. It's a little different now because of the gentrification, but it used to be the Chocolate City, like 90% black people. So, and it was one of the only cities in the country that had that demographic. So for us, our educational system was so terrible. DC public schools was full of violence and, poor test scores. The standardized testing was horrible. You had people getting passed through. You had people. I remember, being in high school, 10th, 11th grade, with 40, 50% of the classroom sometimes couldn't read. Like, and these are people that are ready to go out into the world and try to be, productive citizens in the world, which is impossible. So it's like, it's so much that needs to be done that, that's, like you said, as far as that shadow, I think that shadow is a reflective of all of the, different characteristics of the city itself, just where I'm from. And like I said, I don't want to exclude the district as though these problems are exclusive to where I'm from. It goes on everywhere. Where I live at in North Carolina is same thing. Wherever there is black people and, inner cities and, just people who are disenfranchised, you're going to have the same conditions no matter where you go, especially in my country. I don't know how it necessarily is over here, but from speaking to people like you and just conversations that I've had, I've really, we did our show in Brixton, and I got a little history on Brixton, and they told me a lot about how it worked over there. And there was a shooting like earlier that day before we came, so it just kind of like, it's unfortunate that wherever you go, the most disenfranchised places contain people who look like me and you. So that's something that we all should strive to change, no matter what it is you do for a profession.
Absolutely. And not to go too much into what may be seen as negative, you did say that you've seen like murders.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Even your reaction as like.
That's just what happens. You have.
I mean, not to say can you relive that moment, but when's the first time that you saw that situation?
First time I ever seen somebody shot, I was 6 years old in 11 Park. It's a park that was across the street from where the street that I used to live on, 10th Street, Northwest, and a friend of mine's brother was shot a couple times, while we were all standing out in the park, and it was pretty bad. I hadn't, we had never seen anything like it before, but it was so crazy. Now that I think back to it, none of us were really scared of what happened. We were more scared of them coming back and doing it again and us being out there. even at that young of an age, we knew like we need to go in the house. You know what I mean? Like, because there's nothing we could do. And I think that mentality is kind of what grows with the youth in most inner cities, but especially the one that I come from, is you don't want to feel like a victim. That's the thing. Like the fear isn't of oh my God, I just can't believe that happened to you. Is, oh my God, what if somebody tries to do this to me, and what can I do about it? So a lot of that turns into aggression. Like, I refuse to be a victim. I'm going to do whatever it is I can do to not be one of those people. So that's what you get, you know, people who 10, 11 years old walking around with pistols and feeling like they needed them because they understand that I'm in a line of fire. I'm in a position of being in, you know, potentially losing my life from living in these areas. And, you know, like I said, my father was killed when I was 2. My uncle was murdered in 2002. I have countless friends who was shot and killed, you know, stabbed or whatever, you know, died from drug use. It's all, you know, like death is a part of life. We all have to deal with that at some point, and we all gonna have to, you know, face it at some point as well. But it's not supposed to happen suddenly. It's not supposed to be like, hey man, I see you tomorrow, and then you don't anymore. Like, it's different than the circle of life going the way that it's supposed to go. You live, you get old, you pass away. This is like, you know, this was my guy. This week, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, living in a society where one day you can see someone and then the next day they are completely gone forever. There's no coming back from that. And then the sad part is, you know, that you get used to it. You become desensitized to it. It makes you cold. And it makes you have to look at the world in a manner in which no human being should really be looking at the world. Like, you walk around with a mentality like, you know, excuse my language, fuck everybody. You know what I mean? It's just it. It's, if you're not with us, or if you don't come from where we come from, it's fuck you. I don't care that you look like me. I don't care that we share the same heritage. I don't care that you live a block over from me. You know, nah, but you or me, and I'm gonna do everything in my power for it not to be me. So I think that's a prominent issue, you know, everywhere that there are people that look like us, you know, just like, you know, in Brixton yesterday. Like, how do you have people who are so friendly sounding as you guys are shooting at each other? And I know that sounds like, you know, it sounds funny jokingly, but the reality is, you know, people are hungry, and people feel like the only way to get what they want is through violence. And that's usually, you know, prominent to our area, and that's the unfortunate part here and obviously all over the world with people that look like us.
As I said, you do seem like someone who's knowledgeable. You seem deep-rooted about, you know, just the black experience, your origins. What do you see as the future for black people, primarily in DC, and then also in America as a whole?
Well, hopefully I can be one of the people who spearhead some change for where I come from. I know that's one of my main goals, is to, you know, if I can, even if it's just people in the communities in which I personally come out of, I want to help, you know. One of my main goals is to, ultimate goals for the future is to open up community centers that employ, you know, felons, like, that come from these communities. Like, what part of London are you from?
South London, so not too far from here.
South London, okay. Let's say that community that you come from in South London is a, you know, downtrodden, you know, community, and you fell victim to that. You went to prison because you were a criminal, or whatever. You went to jail, and then you become, you know, in America what we call a felon. And you come home and you can't get a job. But when you come home, the person who is in your neighborhood right now, who is the younger version of what you were, that sent you to the penitentiary, is now following the same road that sent you there. But there's nothing that you can do, because you have to worry about yourself being able to feed your family and feed yourself. So you don't really have the time to sit this person down and really give them real conversation and knowledge and be there every day like youth need you to be able to help them, because you have to be able to sustain yourself and take care of yourself. So if, in my mind, if a community center can be open that gives you a real job, that pays you real wages out of the penitentiary to you know, help these kids who respect you anyway, because they know that the lifestyle and the things that they went through, you understand, because not only have you, you know, fell victim to it, but you come from their community. You speak their language. You talk the talk that they talk. You understand. They look up to you. They do what they do because they saw you doing it. So if they see you doing something different and see you making a change, then true change can be made, and it'll be made from within the community by the community. So that's one of the ideas that I've always had, because I know when I was growing up, a lot of the dumb stuff that we did in the streets was because we didn't have any guidance, because our, you know, fathers were either dead or in jail or didn't give a you know what. And then the dudes who were older than us, you know, thought it was funny that we was doing a lot of the stuff that we was doing because they did it and they didn't have the knowledge. So I think the most important thing that needs to be given to us in the United States or everywhere is just knowledge. Knowledge of self, knowledge of how great you are, how much of a God you truly are in your DNA, and how much we disrespect ourselves by, you know, adhering to who we are in our lowest form. And I think that if the people who get the knowledge are able to deliver it in a manner where it's effective and it doesn't seem preachy, because the young people, I know myself included, you don't want to hear none of that. You don't want to hear no old dude tell you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Get the fuck, whatever. You don't know what I'm going through. But if it's a manner of, look, man, come take a ride with me. Let's figure this thing out. What you mad about? Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And you're getting paid to do this. Not paid because you know, need money, but this is something that you should be passionate about, because if you're a stand-up guy, or if you keep it 100 like most people say that they do, that come out of these type of, you know, communities and these type of circumstances, they want to, you know, say that I'm one of the realest and I'm this, that, and the third. Well, if you're really real, then you should never want to see somebody who's younger than you or somebody who comes from your environment go through the things that you went through, because jail is for no one. Like, nobody, it's like you put a human being in a cage. No human being belongs there. And especially not for doing things that, you know, not to make any excuses for anyone, but doing things that, you know, the environment kind of breeds, you know. So I think that one of the things that I definitely want to do for my people everywhere, not just in the city of the District of Columbia, but I know I can start there because I understand the city. It's my city, so I understand it. But, you know, I want to do it for people everywhere. Just create programs that give knowledge to our people, you know, to help us. And through helping us, we help everybody, because we become a better people. And in us becoming a better people, we become better assets to society, you know, and we create things that help the world more than we already do. And we're able to get credit for it because we know how to do so. It was right after my uncle's murder. I told myself, you know, I had went to the graveyard, and I rarely talk about this, but I went to the graveyard to go to this tombstone. And then I had never been to my father's tombstone before this point. So I was like, you know, most of the people who I know, friends, family, and otherwise, is buried in a cemetery called Harmony Cemetery, right outside of the city of the District of Columbia.